It's spring now in the White Sea Basin. This translucent alien creatures are the first to re-emerge. Their sidelights are iridescent. They belong to the same type but differ in size and shape. They make circles in a continuous disco dance, or pierce through cold water masses with aircraft-like grace. Comb jellies are very ancient creatures that move with the help of 8 rows of rowing plates. That is, the plates are composed of a large number of cilia that beat in unison and reflect light in a bewitching way. Spring waters are deserted. But here's yet another early bird rushing to salute the comb jelly. Small crayfish, Hyperidia. Thanks to its peculiar tendency to feed on its own kind, this crustacean doesn't fall prey to voracious predators. On the contrary, the hunter becomes the prey. Hyperidia is a parasite that lives inside comb jellies and jellyfish and turns their bodies into a mobile restaurant. It's for the sake of these rare shots that Alexander Semenov's team penetrate the sea. Many of their photo models live in complete darkness, 40 or 50 meters below the surface. We film and photograph the objects that are very small. They cannot be seen with the naked eye. And Anton is in charge of macro photography. To film these, it is not enough to know their habitat. We need very strong lights. There are absolutely nothing we can do underwater without lights. 20 meters deep and it's already pitch dark. It happened that after shooting one object, we would later discover on a big screen a whole lot of other small creatures we didn't think existed. The White Sea is a mysterious micro-world. It is the universe in miniature, which follows its own unearthly laws. There, underwater, a man is not a master, but an observer. Yet the tasks of biologists are not limited to documenting marine life. Their task is a search for animals and microorganisms deserving of scientific research. Due to its angelic looks, this animal is truly deserving of its name, the angelfish. It's one of the most beautiful representatives of the invertebrate world. Its smooth gliding movements resemble a slow flight of a butterfly. These mollusks, floating in the depths of water, vacation for 2 or 3 weeks only. Where they come from and where they go is a mystery to scientists. However, this angel-looking villain's goals are very well known. The only food of the angelfish is monkfish. They are the same cephalopods, but they did not evolve to lose the shell, so they look like little snails whose shells have 2 black wings instead of creeping legs. They are truly tiny, 2 to 3 millimeters long, and are almost invisible, although sometimes they amass and dye the entire sea black. Arctic waters is a place where angels overpower devils. This little buddy does not know yet what fate will bring. However, it is fearless in its protective shell, but irregardless of the armor, it has no chance of escape. When caught, the devil is squeezed as though between fingers, and then the angel needs to somehow flip it towards the mouth, since the shell is hard, and that's exactly where the devil is hiding. It opens its cones for a second and keeps doing so until the shell aperture dangles over the angel's mouth. Its mouth cavity is also inside its head, and then it gets scary. Two jaws pop out of the mouth, and with the help of the lingual ribbon, a special chitin radula, which all shellfish have, the angel grinds it into a mush. And still, there is one creature that is stranger and more majestic than all of the underwater creatures put together. This summer, the biological station divers' #1 goal is Flabellina polaris. Want to catch a rare creature? Find its favorite treat? Thus, the baiting begins. We found out what Polaris feeds on. They eat hydropolyps, tubularide, which live at great depths. Now, our task is to plunge into the tubularide habitat in hopes that we encounter Polaris there as well. Well, it looks like it's our spot. The sonar says it's 13 meters deep. Our spot is within the 20-meter radius. What's the layout down there? Rocks, washed boulders, and gravel rocks. Theoretically, it's perfect for tubularide. Therefore, we should find it. Strong currents bring food and oxygen. Therefore, every reef, every rock is out for grabs and becomes a battlefield for thousands of sea creatures. Recently, during a macro shoot, biologists have made a surprising discovery. It turns out that the White Sea is inhabited by microscopic creatures, which invented an ingenious way to deal with the influx of the underwater rock population. Dulichia crustaceans raising mass underwater is a remarkable example. They build those utilizing their leg gland secretions. And here, we've got a little crustacean, 1 millimeter long, building a mass 15 to 20 centimeters high. It lives and feeds on this mast. Most importantly, the number of these masts can reach thousands per 1 square meter. These masts are a social life venue, which is fascinating. They procreate, swap families, a whole lot of activity is registered there. The seemingly dominant stand does not guarantee peace for a Dulichia. Underwater, many would want to enjoy other laborious fruits. This is truly the bout between David and Goliath. It fearlessly confronts the aggressor. Ghost shrimps, on the other hand, are naturals at living in an overcrowded space. They are the only crustaceans capable of standing on their hind legs. They hunt with their long antennas. And then, with their claws, they rub off the plankton that gets stuck in their bodies. Many a shrimp is missing limbs. Those are the scars of past battles for a place under the cold Arctic sun. Here we see tubularide. Those carnivorous flowers Flabellina polaris feeds on. Imagine a flower in a flower bed. This really is a flower, but in fact, it is an animal. And each of these petals is a tentacle. It captures small plankton and tears it. The mouth is in the middle of this flower. The scientists carefully inspect the tubularide colony in hopes to find Flabellina polaris. But alas, it's not here. You could watch underwater battles for hours, but the divers need to go back. We found a tubularide colony at a depth which is not typical for the species. Previously, we've been finding them deep enough, 20 meters or deeper. It turns out tubularid can live 13 meters below the surface in this particular spot. It is quite shallow for it, but not deep enough for Flabellina polaris. How did it go? We found tubularid, but alas, no polaris. The White Sea Biological Station of the Moscow State University was founded in 1938 on the shore of the Kandalaksha Bay. Today, it is still an unapproachable spot in the wild northern region. Summer days scarce, and the ongoing scientific research requires daily dips. The diving service director's sudden sickness is not to disrupt the schedule. The youngest members of the team, Maya and Fyodor, are in the boat. For newcomers, each dive is an occasion to prove themselves. An opportunity to show off their skills. A chance to triumph over experienced colleagues and be the first to detect the elusive mollusk. On the bottom, the divers notice creatures with a truly intraterrestrial anatomy. Sea spiders. They have 8 long legs on which they move slowly. In fact, their legs are everything. All their organ systems are in those legs, and the torso is just a small bridge connecting them. A sea spider may strike someone as a phlegmatic. It takes it hours to cover a few centimeters of the muddy trail. This one did not even notice how it got into trouble with a ghost shrimp. Or maybe they are cunning enough to use the spider to get places. This creature goes on about its business with no regard for the intruders. The spider is headed to the same spot the divers are, to the tubularid colony. These evil, poisonous flowers are covered by metop crustaceans. They feast on tubularid's food and clean its tentacles in return. They are allowed to live on its body, and they somehow escape its poisonous cells, perfect for hunting. Here's another intraterrestrial crawler. The divers have never seen anything like this before. Sonny, do you copy? Copy. Long story short, we finally found this Polaris, but it is small.
And hairy, as it should be.
It is fuzzy with small horns. Well, as it should be. And quite small indeed. Show me. Here. Polaris. Come on, hand it over. This one. Yes, this one. Guys, this is not a Polaris. This is a regular verrucosa. This is Polaris, this is Polaris. This is not Polaris. We found it on tubularid. Its horns are big. This buddy is, however, small. Polaris has huge orange horns, huge ones, and its papillae are quite differently placed. They are also long and very bright. In fact, Polaris is much bigger. No, it has not grown up yet. Where did you find it? On the tubularid. Where else? Oh, the tubularid. Almost any Flabellina, nobilis, verrucosa. and Polaris would favor Tibulard. It's not it. The White Sea is not a shop. You can't pick and match here. You submerge and you either find an object or not. They have their own mysterious rules. Even those with many, many, many years of diving experience are fully aware that we are guests there. We are intruders there. And we can't expect to find the object the moment we show up. Same with Flabalina. It should be here. But it's not. Anton can't hide his irritation. Polar summer's half gone. Fall is near. The diving schedule is more and more often interfered with by yet another natural factor, erratic weather typical for the northern latitudes. This is the North, the Arctic Circle, be it summer or fall. Storms and strong winds are a prevailing force. If the weather is good, we can work underwater, and if it's bad, there is no way we can work. But we just sit tight and wait it out. There are those rare cases when researchers who aren't staying long need to retrieve something and they beg us, please go. But we of course try to avoid it nonetheless because it is risky. The inhabitants of the White Sea have their own problems. Danger is everywhere. It's the law of the jungle here too. Evolution and daily struggle give way to bizarre defense mechanisms. This underwater dragon's look could warn off anyone. This is Nereus, an omnivorous worm. Like a mole, it hides in deep holes, awaiting its prey. Once it sees it, it fires a terrible weapon. It has a huge inverted throat, and it is capable of firing with a speed of 1/3 of this worm's length per second, and the worm itself can be up to 40 centimeters long. That is, their throat is 12 centimeters deep, and these 12 centimeters shoot the prey out of nowhere. There are 2 hooks at the end, kite and jaws, which grab an unlucky fish or a worm and drag it to the hole. During the breeding season, Nereus goes through an amazing metamorphosis. It swims up to the surface and starts the fertilization process by scattering its seed in the water. After completing its primary function, Nereus literally loses all will to live and performs its last dance. Others will now feast. Millions of scary Nereus are an easy prey for fish and other marine animals. But not everyone is ready to give up yet. This pearly dragon fights back. The fierce resistant bears its fruit. But this is just a temporary victory. Every day in Arctic waters is knit with small tragedies. The weather in the Kandalaksha Bay is dreadful. The divers are waiting for a miracle. Sometimes it rains for weeks. Flabalina Polaris, however, will not wait. Once autumn comes, all hope to find it in these murky waters will be lost. Therefore, researchers decide to take a chance. Sometimes I had to help people out of the water, and I myself would eventually find myself in a pickle. Once I resurfaced, a boat was supposed to pick me up. The waves were rattling the boat, and eventually I found myself right under it. I immediately sank like a stone. Otherwise, I could have broken my neck. In the depths of the White Sea, nature has experimented with every shape, every color. Often, it gives its creatures an unearthly appearance. Surrounded with branchy tentacles, this echinoderm creature resembles Medusa the Gorgon's head. Having spread its wiggly tentacles, it waits for an oblivious victim. This deed underwater, all animals are slow. They do not have to rush. They just sit tight and wait for their prey. The only time they somehow use their agility is when they hunt. They may wait in ambush, motionless, for weeks. Then, when they catch something, when the hunt is over, it can resume being slow by slowly transporting the prey to the mouth. Underwater, everything is deceptive. For instance, these underwater flowers look like asters, but they have nothing to do with plants. These bright sea flowers are real animals. They feed on microorganisms, crustaceans, fish, and even their distant relatives, the jellyfish. Lion's mane jellyfish is the largest jellyfish in the world. In the Pacific, there are species whose dome reaches 2.5 meters in diameter. These giants' tentacles can envelop a 12-story building. Here we encountered a jellyfish the size of a watermelon. A jellyfish dome of, well, 50 centimeters in diameter will have tentacles that reach 15 meters, and it is a 5-story building right there. Just imagine this jellyfish on top of a 5-story building, its tentacles hanging over the entrance. Thousands of long tentacles wrapped around the jellyfish like a fishing net. Each of them is covered with billions of dangerous cells. These stinging capsules are a perfect weapon and a defense mechanism. Filled with poisonous toxins, they may cause paralysis or even kill. A mature stinging capsule is a bubble, a hole, covered with a lid with a sort of thread inside. When this animal needs to, we still do not know how it happens. The capsule will trigger a firing. This means that the cap will open and the thread will come hurling out. The speed of this is impressive. This tiny, light, and fragile structure can pierce through a crustacean shell. A stinging cell of a jellyfish is a capsule that resembles a bubble with a closed lid. Inside the capsule, there is a thread. On its surface, the capsule has small spurs. When it touches something, the cap flies off. The thread ejects forcefully and like a harpoon pierces the enemy. The jellyfish injects poison into the victim's body through the cut. Scientists conducted an experiment. A small plankton crustacean was placed next to the tentacles of the jellyfish. The crustacean's body is protected by a hard shell. Come closer. Here is rare footage of stinging cells in action. This high-speed macro film reveals how the jellyfish is stinging its prey. This happens in a split second. The firing speed of the capsules is very high. The impact is incredible. Prey capturing threads literally pierce the shells of this crustacean and inject poison. There are another kind of beautiful jellyfish, which can be found in the White Sea in large numbers. It is Aurelia. They are excellent swimmers. But this does not save Aurelia from Cyanea's predatory tentacles. If you look closely at the threads of this Cyanea, we will notice the same jellyfish Aurelia. Surprisingly, 70% of the queen's diet is comprised of other jellyfish. The Cyanea's mane resembles a royal robe. In reality, this red matter is the mouth of this jellyfish. Cyanea captures Aurelia in its threads. This huntress of a jellyfish wraps its prey with its tentacles and eats it on the go. Often you can see a jellyfish, a small, tiny Cyanea, just a baby jellyfish that has just started to grow, and it sits on top of a huge Aurelia, which is 4 times its size, and it eats this Aurelia. And it will finish the whole thing, and all the nutrients literally flow from one jellyfish into the other, and it grows day by day. And you can encounter Cyaneas which resemble floating soccer balls. They may be digesting 6 to 8 Aurelias. But the food chain does not end here. Cyanea the Terrible was captured herself and became food for our old friend, the sea flower. The boat heads to point 100. The White Sea's open waters are ahead of it. This season, it is the last chance to find the elusive Flabellina polaris. If we get there, we can dive off the boat and try to swim. It's better if the ship stays a little further away. Zodiac will pick you up. You will resurface near the ship while it's rattled by the waves. We'll need to load all the equipment onto the Zodiac. I suggest that we suit up here and jump off the ship. No, you will dive off the ship. There you go, exactly what I wanted to hear. So guys, the side we need. The rock wall is in the south. If you land on the muddy slope, look at its location. Okay? If it is in the west, then you go east. If it is in the east, you go west. You will not miss it, though we missed it once. Been climbing those muddy slopes for a long time until we found it again. You're not the only ones. Well, okay. All right, let's go. Shall we? Two divers disappear underwater. They did not miscalculate and landed right on the cliff slope. Alexander and Dmitri slowly and carefully hit the 30-meter mark. Ascending from such depths is a lengthy procedure of gradual rising, decompression. Therefore, the time underwater is reduced drastically. The marine biologists reach the search area. The cliff slopes disappear into the deep. The divers examine every centimeter. Precious time slips through their fingers. They are showing signs of nitrogen overdose. Nitrogen narcosis provokes drowsiness and hallucinations. Finally, they see the tubularid, and there's something crawling on top. Too soon to experience hallucinations. No way. It is Flabellina. There can be no mistake. This intraterrestrial shape, this hackle of thick, fantastic papillae, cannot be confused for anything else. Hey, how did it go? We got it, we got it! Well done. Well done, guys. Come on, help us out. Polaris, I'm telling you, we got Polaris. I'll do it. Come on, stop fooling around. Well done. Here it is, here it is, here it is. It's huge, look. Look at it swim! That's awesome. The search for Flabellina polaris is now over. The scientists can now feast their eyes on this mysterious creature living in the depths of the White Sea. Its extraordinary shape is a result of an amazing transformation. A snail's distant relative lost the shell and grew long needles of papillae. This soft tuft is Polaris' secret weapon. Polaris is certainly a fascinating shellfish. When feeding on tubularid along their jellyfish-like venomous cells, it somehow does not digest them but accumulates them here in these white needle tips. And whatever predator tries to eat it gets a charge of stinging threads dispersed by these very white tips. It is fantastic. It's a unique defense mechanism. This evolutionary wonder, Flabellina polaris, learned to steal and utilize someone else's weapons. You are watching rare footage. The biologist captured on camera Flabellina polaris' digestive processes. In just a few hours, this mollusk will completely absorb the venomous tubularid. For some reason, the victim's stinging cells do not harm the creature. The capsules travel through Polaris' digestive tract untouched and then reach the papillae tips. This dangerous arsenal has now switched owners. Understanding this unique mechanism will lead to scientific discoveries and may change our lives for the good. There is an element of surprise in dealing with marine science. You never know what you will get. Maybe in 5 years, 10 years, someone with a deep understanding of this digestive mechanism will invent an age-defying skin cream. Maybe people will learn to coexist with the deadly jellyfish. Interesting fact, 100 times more people die from jellyfish stings than from shark attacks. 600 to 700 people annually, whereas 6 to 7 die from sharks. Winter is coming. Deep waters are getting colder. This otherwise vibrant world of strange creatures becomes quiet. The life in the depths of the White Sea was short but eventful. It will now fade into oblivion. Just like in outer space, cold stillness and disheartening silence reign supreme here. It is funny, but some people dream of encountering aliens or extraterrestrial life. but they have been within our reach all along. Right here, right next to us in the White Sea, the world oceans and seas, an enormous number of different life forms. Unbelievable. I would not say that they are alien to our planet. Underwater creatures that live on the bottom of the White Sea are much older than us. Many, many hundreds of times older than the world's oldest civilization. They were before us, and they live among us, and they will live long after us. From their point of view, we are aliens who descended from heaven. We share this world with amazing creatures that are yet to be discovered. There, in the deep of the world's oceans and seas, they are waiting to be found. For a pioneer who will step into their faraway worlds. Beyond the borders of our knowledge of life on Earth.